What's up everyone, Darcblade here with another patch information video for Space Marine 2. This is regarding patch 5.0, which was released today, which is the 10th of December 2024. The patch is a couple of gigs in terms of its size, so it may take you a little while to download, but it adds new features to the game, including a new operation known as the Obelisk operation. It also comes with a ton of new bug fixes and changes and balance adjustments to the weapons in the game. It also includes new DLC around the Dark Angels, so in this video I'll be going through all of it, giving you my thoughts and feelings on them as we go through the patch notes. So let's get into this. First of all, in terms of new features, is the new operation known as Obelisk, which is set on Demirium. For those of you who don't know, this operations mode shows the other half, the other side of the coin, so to speak, to what happens with Titus and co during the Demirium mission. So it involves you taking on the teams, operations team, as we go and rotate the Obelisk device to disrupt the flow of energy, protecting the Aurora device. So it's going to be an end game operation in regards to where it is in the storyline of Space Marine 2. On top of that, we also get a new enemy with this operation. I don't know if this new enemy is going to be appearing alongside Chaos Forces in other missions as well. I assume it will, but this update adds the Zangor Enlightened, a new Majoris enemy that can spawn in all operations featuring the Thousand Suns. So I just answered my own question there. For those of you who don't know, Zangor Enlightened are they ride around on discs of Zinch, which make them very maneuverable. They appear to be melee and ranged hybrid users that can appear in little squads. It looks like they can be countered with parry mechanics, as well as utilizing the target lock-on mechanic as well if you're having trouble taking them down. But next up is, in terms of DLC, the new Season Pass content has dropped, which includes a ton of Dark Angel stuff, including their successor chapters. There is an actual Dark Angels themed weapons, which include the Auto Bolt Rifle, the Plasma Pistol, Power Sword, and the Bulwark Storm Shield. You can see them on the screen there. Also, the Bulwark has a complete Dark Angels armor set for it as well, so that's all good stuff there, especially if you are a fan of the First Legion. But as for gameplay and balance tweaks, they've made some interesting ones here, shall we say. Melee is not getting completely reworked, but it's definitely being seen to, shall we say. Normal melee damage has been increased across the board, so no longer is it a case of just parrying and then gun strike, parry, gun strike, parry, gun strike. You can actually slash away and actually deal significant damage this time. They are also drastically changing blocking weapons. Blocking weapons now work not completely differently, but there is a reward for blocking attacks. Basically, as you block attacks, players will accumulate up to 3 stacks of a melee damage buff, after which attacking while having those buffs, they will be spent and result in massive AoE damage being discharged. So blocking weapons will be utilized and may be preferable when dealing with waves of weaker opponents, and fencing and balance weapons are still better for dealing damage and dealing with Majoris enemies that are more dual type melee encounters. So the perfect block, all blocking weapons being reworked with the new mechanic, Perfect Block, and the Adrenaline Surge. Perfectly timed blocks grant 3 stacks of Adrenaline Surge. Adrenaline Surge greatly increases melee damage and are consumed after the next melee attack. Attacking with 3 stacks of Adrenaline Surge deals massive AoE damage, staggering enemies, and restores 1 armor segment. So we're going to have to try out blocking weapons, folks. On top of that, fencing weapons, the perfect parry AoE stagger radius has been slightly reduced, so fencing weapons have been nerfed a tiny bit there. Balance weapons, the perfect parry AoE stagger radius has been greatly increased. So maybe it's a reward for taking the balanced weapon over a fencing weapon. Whilst the fencing weapon has the easier time parrying, the balanced weapon gives you a bigger AoE radius. The master crafted version has had... The balanced weapons have had their damage increased as well by 10% for each version you take. Each rarity version, shall I say. Blocking weapons. The damage has been increased for all of the blocking weapons by 20% for each rarity as well. And the stomp can now be chained indefinitely if you're using a character that has that is unarmed, like the heavy. So they are probably going to keep an eye on how this works, but overall, maybe blocking weapons are now completely viable. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, let's move on to the next section where we talk about the firearms. Now, these are changes to the a few of the weapons in the game. Not loads, but you know, it's a few. They aren't tweaking loads, as they are intending to do more bigger tweaks, including a complete rework of the weapon perk tree in patch 7, which is 2 patches away. So if these patches are coming out every sort of 2 months, we're looking at maybe the rework to the weapon trees in maybe spring, sort of April time. So yeah, they're definitely going to be looking at tweaking them. The other big outstanding problem that we have is the grenade launcher, which is the underbarrel grenade launcher for the bolt rifle found on the tactical. There are quite a few bugs and misconfigurations that make its way. Due to a bug, certain perks can restore its ammo full when it shouldn't. Due to misconfiguration on our side, the Artificer and Relic versions deal ×4 more damage than the Mastercraft version, which was not intended. I was using the Mastercraft. Was I using the Mastercraft version? I think I was using... No. I can't remember which version I was using. But yeah, grenade launcher seems to have been nerfed. Also, due to a bug, perk that increased the Auspex scan damage stacked. The perks that increased the Auspex scan damage. The buff was inconsistent. Normally, all damage buffs stack. Basically, long story short, Auspex scan combined with the grenade launcher deleted bosses. Even when I was talking to my friends, it felt that it was too powerful. And even though I still stand by the grenade launcher being a very useful tool, especially against sort of like Majora's level enemies and stuff like that. And the build video that has gone up on the channel, the grenade launcher side of it should still be good. It was a little too powerful. So the grenade launcher has been nerfed to the ground when it comes to bosses, at least anyway. We want to keep the fun element of destroying entire waves of enemies with the grenade launcher though. So, you know, like I said, Majora's level enemies and waves, it should still be completely viable, but bosses, not so much. Next up is the Neo Volkite pistol. The damage sensitivity has been increased from 1 to 1.5 against basically Majora's and Extremis level enemies. So harder level enemies should take more damage from the Neo Volkite pistol. And the bolt carbine, the max ammo of all SMG bolt carbines has been increased by 1 magazine. So we get more ammo when we're using the little SMG. Next up, they've made changes to the extermination bonus. This aims to incentivize players not to skip encounters without punishing those who do want to skip, and makes the game less grindy in preparation for new features coming further down the line, i.e. prestige ranks. I know they are adding a prestige system to the game, so we will be wanting to grind XP a little bit more easily, shall we say. Basically, when at the end of the match, you get an extermination rank, as shown down here, and you get a rank A for killing more than 85% of the enemies spawn, and it gives you a experience bonus. Rank B, 60% or more. Rank C, 60% or less. So you get more XP for actually taking on enemies in the game. There have been also gameplay quality of life adjustments added. The dodge invulnerability logic is now client-sided, meaning that the dodges will be more responsive and accurate with players who have high ping. So this is good for when I'm playing with my friends over in the States. Players are now invulnerable to new instances of damage whilst in their knockback animation, so that should stop us getting downed as easily and taking unwanted damage, shall we say. They've added 10 frames of invulnerability at the start of the jump pack's launch animation. This is in campaign and operations only. So basically the assault intercessor, the assault troop, will be able to take off with its jetpack and actually have invincibility frames. The dodge and parry sound, the notification clarity has been greatly improved. The heavy's barrier can now be activated in more player states, so it can be activated during a stagger animation, for example. Player controls have been made to be slightly more responsive after using the Vanguard's grapple launcher. They've also added spawn protection for PvP, and they've also added the Neo Volkite pistol to PvP. So nice changes across the board there for the quality of life. Now in terms of AI, first of all, zoanthropes, which are one of the most hated enemies in the game, I believe. The zoanthropes the shielded zoanthrope, they attack normally in pairs. One of them is shielded, one of them is not. The shielded one will attack much less frequently, so that should give us some breathing room. On top of that, the enemy spawn director will no longer fight extremist level enemies on your first encounter right at the start of the mission. I don't mind that. Extremist level enemies aren't too bad when you're taking them on and you're not surrounded by enemies. They've also made lots of minor animation fixes for various enemies. But anyway, moving on to customization. They've added the lens colors can now be, as you see in the little GIF here. You can change the color of your lens at last. They also fixed shading for the Balthasar Gold and the Ushabti, I think it's pronounced, Ushabti bone colors, as well as numerous small bug fixes with certain armor pieces not displaying the colors correctly. In terms of operations, the fall of Arterius, they've made adjustments to the scripting to make this level shorter and more in line with the duration of other levels, which is good. The second sequence with the Dreadnought Repel Assault is randomized. Now players, it may not happen, so that's an interesting change. And the fusion battery needs to be charged only once in the final sequence instead of multiple times. It could potentially spawn with you only having to charge it once, but this guarantees that it will be once now. Large amounts of small fixes in the level geometry, collision in the terminus level enemies getting stuck in some areas. The terminus level enemies have also been fixed so they don't get stuck on geometry as well. Now, finally, before we move on, they also addressed certain perk fixes. As you can see here, there's a fair few of them, so I'll go through them very quickly. But on the whole, they are still looking at perks. They're not happy where perks are at the moment, so even though I do have build videos coming out, they may change in the future. They're going to start adjusting perks with patch 6 onwards. So, let's go through the general perk fixes, pointing out any of the more interesting ones, shall we say. First of all, getting kicked out of a session will still grant the kicked player XP based on the checkpoint completion. Exited the turret charging wheel in the terminus operation is now quicker. They improved a few enemies, counting for Purge Them All achievement. They fixed the bug with the combat knife charged attack would occasionally heavy hit every time without charging. They fixed the bug where the heavy's primary weapon would not shoot after joining in progress. I actually know a person who experienced that. They fixed the bug where the party leader could get stuck on the load screen in rare cases. I apologize. They fixed the Hierophant's damage sensitivities to certain weapons. It can still be damaged by normal weapons, but the damage is reduced. I've seen some people take the Hierophant down with normal weapons. This is not supposed to be... I mean, it is still doable, but not how quickly they were doing it. They fixed the bug where the Helldrake was not taking damage from shots in rare cases. They also fixed the bug with the Helldrake could be knocked off his pedestal by shots from the underbarrel grenade launcher. They also fixed the bug where Imura would not take any damage from shots in the final mission in rare cases. This is for the single player campaign. Well, it's not single player, but it's for the story campaign. Fixed the rare bug where players were shown a long load black screen instead of the death scene in PvP. They also fixed the bug where players could not see each other's customization in rare cases. They fixed the bug where the Neo Volkite pistol would deal damage further than its visual effects. They fixed the bug where enemies would be able to pierce block stance with double attacks. They fixed the bug with the Bulwark's armor of contention not triggering correctly and demon friendly fire. Okay. They fixed the bug where the Neo Volkite pistol would sometimes trigger a chain of explosions and cause performance issues. Fixed a rare bug with the Vanguard's zone of impact not triggering correctly. Fixed a perk that granted players immunity to heavy hits and knockbacks during charged attacks, which wasn't working properly. Combat Knife charged attack buff from other perks, such as the Sniper's Shadow Stab, now correctly applies on both damage instances. The large number of minor fixes have also been applied to various perks, how they stack, how they're triggered, so on and so forth. And so on and so forth. There are a few technical bug fixes here. And finally, they have put a statement out on mod support if you are interested. I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can go check out this or the patch notes for yourself. But overall, this is a nice little new addition to the game. I am glad that they've made changes to the melee system, and hopefully that block weapons are viable now. The devs seem to still be continuing to adjust certain aspects of the game, like with the weapons and the perks and the enemy AI. And of course, they're adding new content at a regular pace. So this new mission, when I get my hands on it, hopefully it's going to be a fun one. I know it's against the Chaos faction, so I tend to prefer the operations that are against Tyranids, but we'll see. As for the new enemy, Enlightened Zangors could potentially be annoying. We'll have to wait and see. And of course, if you're a Dark Angel fan, you're going to love the new season pass content with the DLC, the Dark Angels DLC cosmetics. But yeah, like I said, I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can go check out all these patch notes for yourself. But what are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. And until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you another patch information video for Space Marine 2. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.